Hello. Good
Hi,
afternoon. How are you, Chelsea?
I'm great, thanks.
Awesome. I'm actually going to make us bigger. There we go. Now I can see us better. Welcome, everybody. It's a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. It was a bit chilly today, unusually, right? I saw your post this morning, Chelsea. People braved the chilly weather this morning to come out and get their yoga on.
Yes, they did. It was much chillier than we anticipated, but the morning crowd usually knows to be prepared for anything.
Yeah, yes. Chelsea, so I wanted to just tell you a little bit about why I'm doing what I'm doing. I just started doing this back in, I believe, February of this year. And one of the reasons was because I really felt like the pandemic kind of scattered our community of wellness practitioners here in Erie. And I really feel like we're all kind of coming back out. And I feel like we all need to reconnect, right? And also, there's just so many people out there. I've been in the wellness community here in Erie for 20 years, and it's amazing all the little pockets of people and communities that are out there. And I wanted to kind of learn all about everybody that's out there and get to know everybody. And then to also, as an entrepreneur, give you guys a voice to talk about your stories, right? The more we talk about what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing, it helps us solidify that. Oh, sorry. That will probably go off again. Oh, you stupid thing. It helps us solidify that and helps us give direction as to where we're going and why we're doing what we're doing. Make sense?
It does, it's great.
Awesome. So Chelsea, I got to tell you, I've seen last summer and this summer about the yoga that you do downtown. So I was curious. I'm like, who is this Chelsea Mcquaid? Right. So Chelsea, can you tell us, let's start off with just a little bit of personal information about yourself, because we want to really know who Chelsea is and how Chelsea became a yoga practitioner. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Chelsea, a little bit about past Chelsea.
Well, I'm the mom of two great kids. I have a 12-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son that are both going to be in middle school this year in the Girard School District. And I work in the district in the office, and we're all really involved in our community out here.
Oh, okay. So what do you do in the office there?
I'm a secretary in the elementary school.
Oh, neat. Okay. Did you always know that you wanted to work with kids, or how long have you been
No,
doing that? Okay.
I did not actually. Before I had kids, it would have never occurred to me to do anything with kids. Once I had been teaching yoga for a little bit, the opportunity had come to me to get trained in the kidding around yoga style that Harris Lender created.
Oh,
And once I did that and taught some kids yoga classes, I was really having a lot of fun with it. I really believed in their teaching model, the structure for their classes, which is what later led me to become a kidding around yoga trainer. And I led some trainings in Cleveland, Pittsburgh, um, a few trainings in Erie, and I offered one of their educator workshops at a school in West Virginia.
okay. I have to figure out how to turn this timer off. I am so sorry. I'm actually just going to shut my phone off. Hey, Siri, shut the phone down. Siri. Hey, Siri, shut the phone down. Just to confirm. Yes. So sorry. So I turned that timer on because I keep forgetting to actually hit go live on this. So I'll be sitting here talking with my guests and I'm like, oh shit, we forgot to hit go live. So, anyways, that's taken care of. So, kidding around. So, how long ago did you start with yoga then?
I started practicing yoga in 2008, 2009. Michael Plasha, who had a very successful studio for a long time, used to teach at Liberty Park. And that was my introduction, was summer classes down there by the water. I loved it. I knew very quickly on that I wanted to be a teacher because it made me feel so good that I wanted everyone to have that same post yoga class feeling.
Right.
And a few years later, it was 2013 that I got my 200-hour yoga training. And it was a couple years later that Harris Lender's her program came back to Erie, and she had been friends with Michael, so he had connected us and really
Okay.
helped me get going in that direction.
Interesting. Where within all of that, when did you start having kids? I'm just curious of that timeline there.
So I started yoga a couple of years before I had my daughter.
Okay.
And then it was after my son was born that I did my first yoga training. I was staying at home with my kids, and I was really hoping to keep staying at home with them for as long as possible. So I wanted to teach some yoga on the side for the
Neat.
flexibility. No pun intended.
But that is perfect. Okay. All right. Do you do yoga with your kids? Do your kids do yoga with you?
When they were younger, early elementary level, they had a lot of fun doing yoga with me. Now my son will do meditation with me. My daughter, not so much, but preteen, it's to be expected. I think she'll find her way back to it in her own time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, through interviewing different yoga teachers in town, it's interesting to find out that a lot of them really started in college is when it's that age when you start to get that independence, but yet you're lost, right? That yoga seems to find people. I'm starting to find a little bit of a trend there. So, but that's interesting because you say that, you do the kidding around yoga style. So what age group is that?
Every kids yoga teacher kind of finds their niche. Some are really good offering family classes, some are really good with a preschool age group. I personally really liked focusing on elementary aged, early elementary age, like 5 to 8. I
Okay.
found it's a really fun group, and it's a really easy group to be silly and goofy with.
Yeah.
And I just naturally have a lot of fun with that age group.
Do they I have a hard time following yoga classes sometimes because my brain's all over the place. Um, that's got to be interesting to go from different age groups to adults. How do you adapt your style of yoga to varying groups like that, different age groups?
Well, I think one of the things that really helped me was both of my teachers, Michael Plasha and Harris Lender, both came out of integral yoga, which was
Oh,
created by Swami Satchidananda. There's an ashram in Yogaville, Virginia, that is focused on his teachings. So I think having those similar philosophies really helped me to, as gurus would say, adapt, adjust, and accommodate. I was also very fortunate when I started teaching yoga. One of the first opportunities I got to teach regularly was at Pembrier Fitness Club. And the morning class I was teaching was primarily senior citizens. And they taught me so much about how to make my classes accessible for a variety of groups.
mhm.
And they were really patient with me as I was finding my way as a teacher. And then when I started the kids, I would have days where I was teaching, 84-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And it was really inspiring in my own personal practice to see how the practice can move with us through life. The
Right.
practice that you have at 20 isn't necessarily the practice that I have now at 40. So it's really, it helps me to keep my creativity going and stay authentic to what works for me.
What do you think is the base philosophy that follows each of those different classes though? Like, is it being present? Is it the breath? Is it flexibility? What do you think it is that you carry to each of those classes that is the base philosophy that you were talking about?
I really try to introduce all of my students to the mindset that despite it being a group class, they're having a personal experience. And I am really there to facilitate them tuning into themselves and listening to what works for them, how I can support what they need and want out of their practice, and giving them that freedom to experiment. And I'm not going to yell at you if you put your arm in a different position than I cued, or if you're not feeling 100% and you skip a pose, that's okay. This is your practice. I'm here, if people are coming to me 1 day a week, I hope they're doing things at home, and I hope that I'm giving them that confidence and connection to what's happening on their mat, that they can do the practice in their own time and space and take that connection they're creating to their present state of mind into their life off of the mat, because that's really where the benefit of yoga is when we find that peace and tranquility when we're at work in the middle of a conflict, or in traffic when somebody cuts us off, or fighting with our kids about the cleanliness of their rooms. That's when we need to be able to find that clarity of mind and that peaceful stillness, because it's really easy to do on a yoga mat, in a quiet room, in a space that you're protected and being taken care of by a teacher. Of course, you can be still and quiet and peaceful. But the more we do that practice, the more we foster that stillness and that connection to peace, and it becomes easier to find it in our day-to-day lives.
That was wonderful. I love that. I love that. And I've had teachers offer that to me, and to be able to facilitate that for other people has to be just a wonderful feeling. Yeah, that's great. Sorry, I'm like, yeah, that was just wonderful. That really, that kind of brought me to my own stillness there. My own stillness. You also have a dog. So I just have to bring up the dog because I am a dog lover. What kind of dog do you have?
He's a mixed breed. I had adopted him during COVID from Happy Bark. They were a newer rescue group at the time.
I worked for Happy Bark, right?
I know. I had no idea.
I foster dogs through Happy Bark. Yeah.
Aw.
Yep. I'm an adoption counselor and I foster dogs. So
that's amazing. Yeah. My dog was originally named Ferris. We quickly changed it to Kylo because we're some pretty big Star Wars fans at my house. Okay. And yeah, he lives his best life, and he's my buddy. He looks like he's part lab, but we did a doggy DNA test, and he is part pit, like every other rescue dog in America, part boxer, which you can kind of see a little bit in his hind legs, the way he's shaped, little husky, which is why he howls with the local fire sirens and likes to talk to me and anyone else that walks by in a way that's very much not a threatening bark. It's definitely a roo-roo-roo. How are you?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, that's wonderful. See how small. See, this is why I enjoy doing this, because, Erie is just a small place anyways, but we really do all know each other one way or another, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. Chelsea, how do you balance it all? I mean, you've got a lot going on, and that's so, and I'm sure your yoga practice helps with that, but that's you've got. And where all do you teach? So let's start with, how do you balance it all, and then you can tell us the specifics of that.
There's an ebb and a flow. It's, I have a lot of things I'm passionate about, so it's very easy for me in the moment to say yes to all of the opportunities. And I have to, and I've gotten better about this in the last few years, is really prioritizing what is at the top of my passion list and what I'm really excited to do. It's why right now except for my downtown class, I really only teach out in West County. I work with Fairview Parks and Recreation, which I've done for a very long time. In the summer, I'm at Avonia Beach. During the colder months, they find space for me in the Fairview School District. And then I work with Elk Creek Rec in, my home, Girard Lake City. And we utilize the public parks in the summer, and then school district space during the colder months.
Nice. That takes a lot of networking and really kind of how do you find those connections? How do you put yourself out there? Did you just go to people and go, hey, I'd like, or did they offer it to you? How does that come about?
In the beginning, I mean, I definitely did a lot of phone calling and emailing, and I did a lot of reaching out, but it was also, other people that I knew kind of giving me that vote into places. My teacher, Michael Plasha, when he was presented with opportunities that he wasn't the right fit for or not time permitting in his schedule, he was quick to, encourage his teachers and put their names out there. And I'm not sure if that's how I got the downtown partnership, how my name ended up there, because it's been a few years now.
Right.
But a lot of it is, I've taken some volunteer opportunities over the years with different libraries. And, I got my connection with Elk Creek Rec because I had volunteered to do a free event for some Girl Scouts. And the Girl Scout event was being put on by the woman who was running the programs for the rec board at the time. And she's like, you were great. You should teach yoga for us out here. And, a lot of it is just saying yes to things that I cared about led to the opportunity to do more things I cared about.
Yes. And I think people don't understand the value sometimes of maybe free and putting yourself out there and volunteering to do things like that, where those connections can lead, and I think I see that more with I hate to say it, with the younger generation. Everybody wants paid for their stuff, but there's something to be said about putting yourself out there and helping people without that return, because the return will come eventually, right? So it's not always an immediate, but it's about networking and helping people when you can, So that's a good example of how that can grow those seeds. Yeah. So how long have you been doing the downtown yoga?
I believe this is my third summer that I've been there. They've been there for a few years before that.
Did they start it because of COVID?
I'm not sure how the downtown partnership got started. I think that the push to do outdoor offerings, because yoga isn't the only thing they do. They offer workout classes at Griswold Park on Mondays. Mm-hmm. I think it's Griswold Park. I'm mad at myself if I messed that up. Sorry, Dave. But they do, the Sunday flea markets. They coordinate a lot of outdoor events. And I think during COVID, it was a great time to tap into all of the people that were really reaching out to the great resources Erie has in the summertime to be outdoors, to be active and be healthy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Neat. Yeah, I think that's a great thing they're doing down there. You get quite the crowd down there, from 30 to 70 people, don't you?
This summer has been phenomenal. Now, I will say we've been the most fortunate we've ever been with weather. Today may have been cold, but it was clear, it was manageable. We've had great weather this summer to offer the programs. But I think a lot of it is, the downtown partnership was really committed to being consistent with this offering. We've kept it Wednesday. We've kept it the same time. Every year, more of the people that came last year come back. And, I hope that has something to do with the way that I've offered the class over those years. And people will have brought their friends.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, somebody will show up and be like, I've wanted to do this for so long and I just couldn't do it. And I think that, having that outdoor public setting makes it really easy for somebody to just show up and try it. You don't have to pre-register. It's free. It's just the easiest way to give it a shot. And it's such a beautiful setting.
Yep. I was talking to somebody last week, Amy Van Scoter, and she had mentioned, sometimes it's about breaking down those barriers and going to people in their settings that really, makes people just feel comfortable going to give it a try. Working out and doing yoga and all that stuff is, like you said, a very personal experience. And you can be vulnerable working out and doing different things in front of other people, right? But if you have the right teacher in front of you that, keep your eyes on your own mat, go inside. This is your own experience, right? And I think with the amount of people that are coming down to the Dobbins Landing with you guys, a testament as to the type of teacher and type of environment that you foster for your students. So that's wonderful. I'm very happy to hear that. So what do you have? What do you have going on the rest of the year here? Where are you going to be? I did see that you had some other summer yoga classes coming up, but I printed it off and I can't read it.
Yeah, sometimes the Canva art looks great online and doesn't necessarily print super well, but the big thing I have going on.
I also have to wear these now too, so.
Yes. My big thing for the rest of the summer is Avonia Beach on Monday nights. The adult class is from 7 to 8. There is, if you've ever been to Avonia Beach in Fairview, there's not a lot of beach there. So we actually practice in the grassy yard that's in front of the house that's there, that Fairview rents for different things. They are generous enough to give me a key so that in the summertime, if we get weather issues, we can move our class inside. So I never have to cancel.
Oh, nice.
That's really nice. And I'm actually able to keep practicing in that space through October. So people can come give it a try Mondays for August. And then if you want, you can come back for our fall session that'll start after Labor Day.
What does that cost?
It's $10 a class. So I think right now it's, my August session is 4 weeks. So it's going to be at $40. But when I have enough people registered, I kind of have just open drop-ins. Okay. So, knowing that I have enough people to get the class going in August, if anybody wanted to just show up, they can just bring $10 and sign Fairview's waiver to give it a try. And it's really beneficial in the summer because a lot of times people have friends or family visiting from out of town. And I'm always like, don't skip yoga, bring your peeps, bring whoever wants to come. And I have, other friends that maybe their schedules don't permit committing to a regular class, especially in the summer when there is so much competition for people's time. Mm-hmm. Keeping that open drop-in is
really helps. Yeah, that's awesome. And then it looks like there's another one on here. Or is that
I'm not sure that we're still going to be at the park on Thursdays.
Okay.
We were hoping to, but I'm not sure if the timing didn't work for people. Okay. So we might have to just reevaluate that location going forward.
So my question to you is, so I looked at your Facebook business page. What does Miracle Mind mean? What the heck does that mean?
It's about focusing your mindset to believing in miracles, believing in possibilities. The things that our minds are capable of is a miracle. We can always change our minds. And it's so easy in this climate, socially, culturally, to be stuck. That I think when you get on your mat and you really connect with yourself without all of the noise of the 24/7 news cycle, TikTok, the entire Bravo network, you cancel all of that out. And I'm guilty of all of it. That's why I can quote it as being part of the problem. You cancel all of that out and you can see your own limitlessness. And it's really wonderful what we can do when we focus within and harness our own power.
Oh, I love that. I had no idea that's where that was going to go. I love that. How did you come up with that? Or how long have you had that as kind of like, I guess you would call that your business name, right?
Yeah, I've kind of rebranded in the last year, as my own practice has evolved over the years, so has my teaching. And I really focus on meditative aspects of the practice and using our physical practice as a way to support our mental health and really our lives off of the mat, and how we take what is on the mat that's good and peaceful and still and bring that to our families, bring that to our friends, bring that to our careers. And that's where we really see the magic and miracles.
Oh, I love it. That's fabulous. That's way better than what I had going on in my head. It's a miracle itself. Do you have any specific stories? And I guess I'm kind of thinking of this more for kids. How do you introduce yoga to kids? Like, I'm not a big, I don't have kids. I don't really deal with kids on a regular basis, but how do you even introduce the concept to them?
Well, you meet them where they're at. And I don't start out a kid's yoga class with Sanskrit scriptures and chanting. You get them, like I said, I work typically with younger kids, so I find it's a little easier to be silly and goofy and then kind of relate it to things that make sense with them. It's yoga ethics and philosophy is basic life ethics. It's life philosophy. It's being kind to people. It's, don't steal, don't call names, don't push people, treat people the way you want to be treated, and take care of yourself. So much of yoga is about keeping your eyes on your own mat, worrying about your own actions, your own emotions. And as kids get older, especially in, that preteen level, it's about that connection that we all have, the human experience that we're all having, because, as teenagers, it can be very isolating. You feel like no one understands you. You're the only one that has ever been sad, mad, whatever, in the way that you're sad, mad, and literally whatever, because a lot of times you don't even know how you feel.
Right.
And it can be harder to kind of hook the preteens. So it's where it's really about, finding that ground of having fun, doing challenges, doing yoga, partner poses in the right setting. I've worked with Girl Scout troops, and that can be a little easier to incorporate those philosophies and practices. Mm-hmm. But it's just getting to know your students, meeting them where they're at, and accepting them for who they are and where they're at.
Are there any stories off the top of your mind of perhaps a transformative story about one of your students, maybe a kid that was, a kid, or even an adult? Anything that pops out to you where you might have had some challenges, but there was a transformation that happened that had a good story with it?
Some of my favorite kids are the kids that don't want to do yoga when I first meet them, because I don't make them do yoga. Mm-hmm. That's my thing. I don't make adults do things in my class that they don't want to do, and I don't make kids in my classes do things that they don't want to do. So sometimes I have to, go sit on their mat and be like, okay, you don't want to do this. That's fine. That's your choice. But you're not going to disrupt any of the people in the space that want to do this. We're going to continue class. You are welcome to change your mind. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they just watch. Mm-hmm. And I know that they're still getting it. They're still absorbing it. They're still a part of it. And a lot of times, especially with kids, you have to give up the control of what you think things are supposed to look like. And I deal with this, some with adult students too, who think that poses are supposed to look a certain way because that's how they look on TV or in magazines. But you have to give up what you think the practice needs to look like for all of your students. Mm-hmm. You offer what you can offer. And sometimes I'm just not the right teacher for someone. Mm-hmm. I'll plainly admit there are certain age groups that I'm just not good with. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's because my own kids are that age and it's a little more difficult for me. Sometimes it's just not something that I'm as good in the moment with.
Right.
Some people just don't like me. That's okay. There's so many yoga teachers in Erie, like you said. We're all very different. Even some of us that have very similar trainings. Mm-hmm. We have very different ways of practicing. We have different ways of presenting that practice to people. Sometimes it just takes the right teacher to cue a pose the right way for a student to get it. So I
Mm-hmm.
do encourage people to try out different teachers and really listen, because I go to different teachers. I listen to different people, and it inspires me to do things differently. And, even if I have a teacher that I love, if I've heard them cue it the same way every time,
Mm-hmm.
just hearing a different teacher where they emphasize the posture, it could change my whole experience in that pose.
I love that. So I'm one of those students that likes to do my own thing. Sometimes I'll just sit there and watch too. Um, so so I understand those kids. So yeah, that's really, really cool. Um, awesome. What where do you see Miracle Mind going down the road here? Are you happy just kind of where you at? Do you feel like you're going to maybe eventually have your own space? What do you see for yourself, Chelsea?
I was so close to committing to my own space before COVID. And then
Okay.
COVID happened, and I was so grateful that I didn't have the weight of a space or a lease or all of those obligations. And a lot of what I'm seeing with my current students is having trouble committing to regular classes. And I've talked to a few people about really looking at going more online,
Mm,
offering. I'm going to be starting a Patreon this fall of just starting to put some things out there, some, mini practices, mini sessions, full length classes, things that people can do in their own time, in their own space. And I had just floated that idea recently publicly for the first time. And somebody that I had no idea had any interest in doing yoga with me came up to me and said, I can't wait for your videos. I would never have the guts to come to class in person, but
mhm.
I want to try it. I'm waiting. Keep me in the loop. And, I'm excited about that. I think it's some new great potential that can still allow me to help people in my circle, in my community, and
Right.
still have that teacher to student connection.
Yes, I love that. And that's kind of how I feel a little bit about myself. I do have a harder time getting out of my house anymore. I really enjoy my space. So I think, and that definitely is one of the good things about the pandemic is that it opened that up for us. It made it so much more common for that to happen. So I love to hear that you're looking into that and allowing that for that flexibility. I think because it gives us community, like you said, but also then we really can keep our eyes on our own mat, right? So that's a lot of really good stuff there. I love that. Chelsea, I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you today, sharing you with the community out there. I love to hear that you have plans for the future. And again, sometimes just talking about it and putting it out there, right? Now there's other people out there that know that you're planning on doing this. So you may just have to do it, right?
The obligation of people's expectations does not hurt.
It does not. That's for sure. That's for sure. You stay here. I'm going to put you back down in the green room, but we're going to connect again after this and chit chat. Thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for coming today, meeting Chelsea. You will find her on Wednesdays down at Dobbins Landing, 6 a.m. Go on down there. It's a beautiful platform there to practice some yoga. You can find her out in the West County area too, Avonia. I am going to be taking a wee bit of a break this August. I'm going out of town for a float therapy conference and then a massage therapy conference. So we'll be back the beginning of September. I'm going to have Paula Pontillo on the show. She was my Reiki master teacher. She'll be talking about her doing Reiki. She's out at Presque Isle Wellness, and we'll take it from there. So thank you so much for coming and meeting Chelsea, and we'll see you later.